welcome sports fans. Charles E. Smith Jr. here, and that's time again now for the Arizona Sports Report for the man out there in the desert who is gaining quite a following right now. And I'm talking about, of course, my main man, Sean Goyal. How are things out there in the desert, Mr. Goyal?
Thanks, Charles. Things are doing great out here, especially stepping into fall. As the weather's getting cooler, the sports are getting hotter, and every team's looking to start doing pretty well. ASU's looking hot. How about we start getting into them?
Hey, you know what? I don't understand ASU because, of course, they finally beat a ranked team for the first time in, 4 years when they beat Mizzou. Then they go and lay an egg against the Fighting Illini. Now, they put a pretty sound whooping on SC this past weekend, man. Talk to me. Are they only going to beat ranked teams this year or what?
Well, you know, that's how they like to keep it exciting. We beat the people who are tough to beat, and the easy teams, we let them slide by. But no, ASU right now is leading in a record of 3-1, beating the ranked number 23 USC 43-22 this past weekend. What that did for them is actually snapped an 11-game losing streak. In the game, though, the big star for this game was the offense, as running back Cameron Marshall ran for 25 rushes for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns, as well as Bob Osweiler, who went 25 of 32 for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, not to say that the defense did not help, because this was an all-around great game by ASU.
Right.
ASU's defense actually forced 4 turnovers, 2 of those being in the red zone. It was quite a good game.
Right. I did catch some parts of it. I didn't watch the game in its entirety, but what happened was, what I liked about ASU was every turning point, every time it looked like the momentum might be swinging the other way, you know, ASU made the plays they need to make and swing it back their way, and really they held on and over through the second half. At times when you thought SC might be kind of taking an upper hand, but ASU stopped it at every point, and Dennis Erickson has to be pretty proud of his boys right about now.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, one of the key moments in this game was when ASU was leading 28-22 early in the fourth. USC actually drove the line made a drive all the way to the 11-yard line of ASU when defensive player Greg Smith came up with 2 huge plays. One stopping Curtis McNeil for a 3-yard loss, and then going ahead and sacking USC quarterback Matt Barkley and forcing a fumble. That's when Bo Mose recovered, and ASU actually never looked back in this game.
All right, perfect. And hopefully they'll be able to build off of this. Now, what have they got coming up next week?
Well, with the upcoming game, they're going to be facing the Oregon State Beavers, who are right now 0-3, and going to go ahead and face them at home. So they've lost both of their home games. With this now high-powered offense led by Brock Osweiler, ASU is leading the South Division and should be able to roll over this team pretty easily.
Well, one would think, but who knows? They seem to only be able to beat ranked teams, so who knows? Oregon State might roll them up by 10 or 15 points this weekend, but hopefully not, because it's good to finally see some good football being played out there at ASU. Looks like Dennis Erickson, with that impressive resume he's brought, is finally getting that program turned around, and he's getting it to do what they expected to do when he went there.
Yeah, it's definitely looking good, especially with Erickson leading the way right now. The only thing that ASU needs to watch out for when they go over to OSU is the special teams. Because right now they have a junior by the name of Jordan Poyer, who was selected the Pac-12 Special Team Player of the Week, and also the College Football Performance Award for Punt Returner of the Week. He actually had the second longest punt return in OSU history with an 85-yard return versus UCLA this past weekend. And he's also second in the nation for punt return averages at 25.3 yards. So the only thing that they need to watch out for is him returning possibly 2 touchdowns on punt returns, or even giving OSU some good field advantage.
All right, so Erickson, what he's got to do is really tell the boys to, you know, put the SC win behind them, take it one game at a time, get out there and just get after OSU the way they know they can and bring that home. That's what they got to do, because you got to, winning is a habit. Like they always say, winning is a habit. They've got to get in that habit of going on that field and walking off winners. That's what they got to do there.
Yeah, I agree. And many people didn't have high expectations for ASU, and where they're at right now, it looks like they might be able to take this division and have some strong chances when they're going into the playoff round.
All right, well, maybe a Pac-12 championship game played at ASU. Who'd ever thunk it? But, hey, there's a lot of football left to play. And you know what? Let's go ahead, transition from boys to men. The boys over there are doing pretty well, but then we've got the men in the form of the Arizona Cardinals. The Fitzgerald to Cobb, or excuse me, Cobb to Fitzgerald connection maybe not going quite as smoothly as we had hoped. another ugly, last drive loss. In fact, they battled neck and neck with the Seahawks, but ultimately the Seahawks wound up getting a victory that's about as ugly as their uniforms, and they dropped the Cards to 1-2.
Yeah, exactly. And, this was a huge loss for the Arizona Cardinals, being their first division game, losing 13-10 to the Seahawks. Now, this game, though, honestly, when I was watching it, was kind of split down the middle for me, as Arizona dominated the first half, and then Seattle completely took over in the second half with Tavares Jackson running an 11-yard touchdown run to put them ahead. It was a good game all around, though. I did enjoy everything that I saw. The only problem was with Kevin Cobb, who went 25 of 39, 252 yards, one touchdown. He had two interceptions, one taken by Marcus Truon and also one taken by Cam Chancellor. So there was a little bit of issues there with Cobb getting a little edgy on his throws and not being able to complete. But the real issue was when the Cards had a chance to come back from that 11-yard run by Tavares Jackson, Cobb went ahead and threw an interception with a minute and 4 left in the fourth quarter, which sealed the deal for them.
Exactly. They're going to have to get a lot more consistent. And when I look at this week, which I'll be out there, and you know what, Mr. Goyal, you and me will be out there to see the Cards and the Giants play this week in that beautiful stadium they have. But this is a huge game. The Giants coming off that win, unexpected win over the Philadelphia Eagles to take them to 2-1. And if they get to 3-1, they're in control of their division, with the Eagles slipping and sliding, learning that dream teams, hey, dreams are not reality. That's what it comes down to. But the Cardinals, even in their division, if they go to 1-3, it's going to be an uphill climb. So that should be a pretty good game this week against the Giants out there in where's that stadium again? Gilbert, Tempe, University of Phoenix Stadium, right? Near Phoenix.
Glendale area. It's a
Glendale.
Arena,
That's it.
I've ever been in. And, it's going to be a real tough game. In this recent game against the Seahawks, they didn't have Beanie Wells, who was out with a hamstring issue, and, the hyphen, LaRon Stevens-Howling, who had a hand injury. So they had Chester Taylor and Alfonso Smith combining for 74 yards on 25 carries, which was just abysmal. It looked terrible. Back into this game, though, in the one that they just recently finished, Larry Fitzgerald did have a reasonably good game in the first half, but again, in the second half, he was shut down. He did have 5 receptions, 64 yards, and a TD. Now, one of the big issues in the game, though, that I thought that they're going to have to work on when the Giants come into town is with Jay Feely, their kicker. He went 1 of 3 in field goals, which really hurt them, because, even just 1 3-point conversion would have went ahead and changed this whole game. So, coming into the game that's coming up this Sunday, the real issue that they're going to have is stopping Eli Manning, who's firing on all cylinders right now, connecting with Victor Cruz. In the last game, Eli Manning went 16 of 23, 254 yards with 4 touchdowns and no mess-ups of interception. So it's going to be a tough time on RPDs back here in Arizona.
Right, and that's one thing when they look at this as a team, and the one thing where Ken Wisenhunt, their head coach, must be pulling his hair out is, with a little luck, honestly, Arizona is 3-0 at this point. Instead, they're 1-2, and even this early in the season, and in a division as weak as theirs is, going down 1-3, this is almost a must-win game coming this weekend against the Giants.
Yeah, it is a must-win game, especially in the division right now, with Frisco leading the way 2-1, and Seattle and Arizona tied for 1-2, and then finally the Rams at 0-3. I'm going to be honest, I was along with everybody else thinking this is going to be a quarterback-winning division. Still, the division isn't all that great. The quarterbacks were the main attention, but it seems that the way that it's going, the defense is what's going to win this division, and right now Frisco's leading the way with that.
All right, perfect. Well, it's hard for me to imagine Frisco winning that division with Alex Smith at quarterback, no matter what you say about, not being necessarily quarterback-driven division. It's early in the season. I picked Arizona to win this division because I like the Cobb to Fitzgerald connection, and hopefully, but their defense, they've let teams kind of march up and down the field, even though they've not been high scoring affairs, but really maybe they lost a little bit too much off defense, as we talked about at the outset. In our very first Arizona Sports Report, they lost Carlos Dansby last season, who's a great linebacker, and this season Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie out of the defensive backfield. So maybe they just lost a little too much out there.
Yeah, it was hard losing those top players there, but we do have Patrick Peterson, who's a rookie now, who was the only person to get the interception this past weekend against Tavares Jackson. And Peterson also got one of the interceptions in the first game of the season. So he's looking better. He's getting more comfortable in the position and is learning to read the quarterback a little bit more. So hopefully with that, he's going to be able to put a little bit of hurt against the wideouts that the Giants are going to be bringing into town.
All right, perfect. So you know what? That's enough about the Arizona Cardinals. You and I will both be there, and we'll have a great Arizona sports report again next week, no matter what the outcome is. But, you know, one team, the most unexpected maybe in all of sports. Let's talk baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's official. They've had it locked up for a while, but now with just a couple games left in the season, Diamondbacks are bringing it home, and it's going to be playoff time out there in the desert pretty soon.
Yeah, it's looking great. And, yes, you're correct. They did take the division. I believe they're leading by 9 right now in games ahead of the San Francisco Giants, so that's locked in and sealed. The recent series that they had, they won against the Giants 5-2 in the game yesterday in a 3-game sweep. But in that win, they lost Justin Upton to a head injury. Tim Lincecum was off and threw a 93-mile fastball straight to Upton's head. After MRIs, Upton seems okay, and he's going to be day-to-day, so he should be ready by the time playoffs come around. But I don't see him coming up in this upcoming series. Now, with that, what had happened to Lincecum, when he hit him, you could kind of tell that he didn't mean to do that. Kind of freaked him out a bit, and he gave up 5 runs on 8 hits in 5 innings. With this win that they just recently accomplished, though, it keeps them in pace with the Brewers, that they also won recently, for the home field race. Right now, they're leading by 1 game, and they're going to be facing a 3-game series versus the Pirates. The D-backs are definitely hoping that they drop them all.
All right, perfect. So you know what? Really, with the D-backs, it's kind of these last couple of games are going to be a formality, and it's about what they're going to do in the playoffs. Can we have a repeat of their great run in 2001? We'll see. But you know what? Next Arizona Sports Report, we'll be talking about the Giants and Cards game that you and I both watched live out there in Glendale. We'll also be talking about the baseball playoffs. They'll be underway at that point. And, of course, did the Arizona State Sun Devils, were they able to handle the Oregon State Beavers?
Definitely. And, you know, one other thing that I want the fans to keep in mind of is that regardless of if the D-backs actually take the lead in the NL for the home field or they tie, they still win home field advantage. Because even if they tie, it's going to come down to the head-to-head matches that the Brewers and the D-backs had. And right now the record sits at 4-3 in the favor of the D-backs. So home field advantage doesn't seem to be too far away.
All right, and how about these last few games? I know they'd had some issues with attendance out there. Are the fans finally getting out there, or are they just kind of sitting back and waiting for those playoff games? How have they been out the last few games there in Arizona?
Well, the last few games have been really good. The series right before the one that we just passed against the Giants was packed full of fans and kids and everybody coming to watch the game. Right now, though, it does seem that it's dying out a little bit as fans are waiting for the playoffs to come up. But this next upcoming series against the Dodgers doesn't seem to be one where the Dodgers will lay down. So I don't see why fans wouldn't come out to see this great game.
All right, perfect. So, tell you what here. Mr. Goyal, it's been a pleasure again. And everybody out there, remember, this is an Inside Sports production. The show is the Arizona Sports Report. I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr., and I'm joined every week by Sean Goyal. Mr. Goyal, great to do this again with you.
Thanks again, Charles. It was fun.
All right, fantastic. Okay, folks, as we said, we're going to sign off, and we will catch you next time. Inside Sports with the Arizona Sports Report.